Yeah, okay,
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I think this statement articulates a host of issues that are currently going on in this country. And as leaders in our own right, we decided it was inevitable that we address them. The statement is titled, "A Call to Action. We must continue our fight for freedom and resist autocratic tyranny." This statement is dated today, 15th of May 2020. It has become apparent that our continued silence when our nation is at crossroads, amplified by an incompetent, reckless, delinquent, and out-of-touch presidency, is not only untenable but outright criminal and treason to our posterity. Cowardly and heartless, the presidency, his government, his illegitimate party, leadership, and a compromised and rudderless opposition have taken advantage of restrictions and guidelines placed upon the citizenry in an effort to combat and arrest the spread of COVID-19, to politic unabatedly and erode our democracy, our constitution, and its institutions. In these times of unprecedented uncertainty, Kenyans are confronted with economic and social turmoil, as well as a serious threat to their lives and health. It is expected that political leadership as well as government will rise to the call of the moment and offer assurance, security, safety, aid, and relief to enable the people navigate through this rough patch more easily. Certainly, it is never expected that leadership in government would instead move to exacerbate an already dire situation. Unfortunately, in the recent past, Kenyans have woken up to one disappointment after another ever since this season of suffering commenced. Misfortunes that have befallen our people have been met with a callous indifference from government. This has been epitomized during the fatal landslides in West Pokot, when official indifference to the suffering of the citizens was proudly advertised by government, and similar tragedies in Elgeyo Marakwet, Budalangi, Nyando, Kakamega, Muranga, and other parts of the country. But it is not just through silence and inaction that government has demonstrated its negligence. The reckless mismanagement of the COVID pandemic not only allowed the disease to be imported when our systems were not ready, but subsequent lackluster, mediocre, and malevolent conduct by those in charge underscored for all to see that any confidence in official competence would be tragically misplaced. Inappropriate responses, negligence and mishandling, violence and brutality, poor coordination and frugality with truth have been the hallmark of government's official strategy to counter COVID-19. Weeks after proclaiming enhanced measures, there are signals that government has moved on from public health dimension of COVID-19 and is now only concentrating on opportunities for financial, constitutional, and political mischief afforded by the crisis. All hope for transparency and accountability in the mobilization and expenditure of COVID-19 related resources has dwindled. Crackdowns and constrictions of citizen liberties get more repressive by the day. It is ironic that the enforcement of measures intended to minimize transmission were enforced by systematic impunity, calculated at maximizing the risk of mass infection as though the government had lost control of itself. The consolidation of a monstrous constitutional delinquent behemoth continues through publicly funded, insensitive political mobilization aimed at securing short-term gain through illegality and impunity. This behavior, typified by inaction and indifference to the plight of millions of Kenyans, whilst at the same time showing zeal and commitment to divisive, destructive, retrograde, and inappropriate adventures, is extremely worrying and utterly unacceptable. The cessation of normalcy occasioned by the COVID-19 crisis and the virtual paralysis of institutions has provided ample opportunities for constitutional delinquents to steal a march on the rest of the country. A case in point is the affront to our constitution and institutions from within the Jubilee Party. Not satisfied with mobilizing to fraudulently upset democratic parliamentary arrangements, the tyrannical chauvinists subsequently unleashed administrative violence against women nominated to Senate, citing flimsy and arbitrary grounds to underscore their impunity. In so doing, an illegitimate party leadership made a lurid mockery of the party's institutions and the very principles of democracy by contemptuously assaulting the party list that voters endorsed during the elections, and humiliating members reminiscent of the dark days of the Kanu-style impunity, a painful and worrying reminder of the yesteryears. Be warned, the Kanu-style dictatorship is back, and its offspring and surrogates on both sides of the divide. In this creeping dictatorship, certainly, women will be far worse than ever before.
As we approach the 10th anniversary of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, our country is also rapidly sliding back into unprecedented tyranny. Kenya is undergoing a reversion to a form of autocratic power never before witnessed in this country. Not even during the most diabolical years of colonialism. The systematic hollowing of national institutions, erosion of the rule of law, and the undermining of the Constitution are accompanied by a particularly toxic form of vindictive and divisive politics that is simply unprecedented. All these dangerous excesses are focused on 2022 and the presidential succession. Disguised as an emerging coalition arrangement and its resultant government of the so-called National Government of National Unity is a continual and calculated scheme by contradicting parties to have a Kenyatta succeed Uhuru Kenyatta with a promise of a piece of the pie for everybody who cares to be interested. In the event that the country can be subjected to a referendum to enable a powerful executive prime minister, then Uhuru Kenyatta will be Kenya's prime minister. In the event of a watered down version of the prime minister, Mohoho Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta's younger brother, will be prime minister. So they dream. For this, they all need a president who will play ball, a card that is currently being dangled to the contrasting parties. Standing in the way of the Kenyatta succeeding a Kenyatta is Deputy President William Ruto. Contradicting our conventional and ethnic and regional sensitivities, William Ruto has buckling and overwhelming support over Uhuru Kenyatta, even in the Mount Kenya region. Scientific research, keen observation, and common sense attest to this very fact. Yet, to achieve the goal of changing the constitution to enable a Kenyatta prime minister, Uhuru Kenyatta needs the Mount Kenya region. This is camouflaged by the purported quest to have Mount Kenya on the table in a bid to win over a base lost through incompetent, uncaring, reckless, condescending and abusive leadership that has indebted the country and disenfranchised the region and the country like no other time in the history of independent Kenya. The severity and extremity of actions to counter Deputy President Dr. William Ruto's popularity in Mount Kenya and his presidential bid, an erosion on the Constitution and its institution, wanton illegalities, and more specifically, the victimization and coercion of elected leaders from Mount Kenya region is set to get worse. We can only urge Kenyans to, at this time, to stand tall, stand firm, remain defiant, and forever be in defense of our Constitution and our nationhood. Always by God's grace, no situation is permanent. A call to our dear fellow Kenyans. We want to assure the people of Kenya that each of these and other vicious actions and injurious omissions and every suffering inflicted to them have been noted. We call upon all Kenyans who love their country, who love this country, who love our country and their freedom, to be even more vigilant against saboteurs of our Constitution. We must stand with innocent Kenyans, especially those who are vulnerable. We stand for the rule of law and our constitutional democracy. We resist the erosion of our hard-won constitutional dispensation and, in no uncertain terms, condemn the sacrilegious recklessness that threatens to overrun the nation. At a time when the siren call of constitutional delinquency has encaptured and ravaged the official opposition, we must set up and fight for the integrity of our mama land. It is clear from the behavior of those mobilizing against freedom, the rule of law, and the Constitution that COVID-19 is no longer to them a crisis. We must therefore be ready to face them in a violent resistance and win our freedom for our sake, for the sake of posterity. Thank you very much. Signed by Senator Johnson Mdama, Senator Dr. Boni Khalwale, and Senator Hassan Omar Hassan. I wish to invite Senator Mdama to run remarks in Swahili.
Lugha wanaosikia vizuri ni ya Kiswahili. Itakuwa ni vigumu sana kutafsiri yaliyozungumzwa kwa Kimombo neno kwa neno, lakini nitajaribu kuenda kifungu kwa kifungu na kuweza kutaja tu yaliyo ya kimuhimu sana. Na vile imeanza, huu ni mwito kwa Wakenya kuendelea kutetea, kulinda na kusimama imara, kuona kwamba utawala ambao unaweza kugeuka kuwa wa kihimla hauruhusiwi kuingia katika Kenya yetu. Na imeonekana kwamba Wakenya baada ya kukaa kimya kwa muda, nchi yao ikiwa inapinda njia kwa siasa zinazoendelea sasa, ambazo zinaleta kasheshe kubwa sana na kutoelewana. Kuna uoga ambao umeonekana umeingia katika mioyo ya Wakenya, na hasa haya yanaathirika na kuonekana kwamba zaidi yanatokana na uongozi wa rais tuliye naye kwa hivi sasa, serikali yake na chama ambacho ni kile kinaongoza katika Kenya yetu, na vyama vingine vilivyokuwa vya kiupinzani ambazo wengi wao tulikuwa ndani ya upinzani, vinaonekana kwamba vimewezwa kuwekwa juu ya mesa na kunyamasishwa na kuacha chama kinachotawala kufanya kinavyotaka. Katika muda wote huu Wakenya wamepandwa na kukutana na maisha magumu sana, maisha ambayo ni ya kiuchumi, na maisha ambayo imeleta siasa ambayo imewafanya Wakenya kufinywa sana.